Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where I have the privilege of interviewing interesting and inspiring people who have overcome barriers, limiting beliefs, and challenges through health and fitness. My goal for this podcast is to learn, have fun, and share the many stories, lessons, and projects from deep discussions with artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, and creative people. I'm your host, Cameron Neal, and today we have an exceptionally talented guest with us. She's not only a dedicated and hardworking songwriter, artist, and performer, but also a powerful storyteller who uses her music to convey messages of hope, resilience, and healing. She is a young artist with Lebanese roots from Western Sydney, blending sounds of pop, R&B, and rock inspired by artists like Joji, Billie Eilish, and EDEN. On top of her musical achievements, she's also raised $1,000 from ticket sales at one of her latest shows at the Oxford Art Factory and partnered with Beyond Blue, where those funds go towards mental health and suicide prevention services. From falling into a coma at 3 years old to growing up in social housing, leaving home at just 16 years old to now where she has just finished up playing her first national tour across Australia. My friend YAGKI, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. It's such a pleasure for you to be here. And I'm very grateful that you carved out time out of your hectic schedule to be on here.
No, I'm excited for it. So I'm looking forward to chatting.
Yeah, well, firstly, congratulations on finishing up your national tour. What was that like?
I think for me, I saw a lot of other artists doing touring and doing touring across the east coast of Australia. So I was kind of like, well, excuse me, how do I do something different, but also use the opportunity to make almost like different seeds in different states to figure out where I was best suited, what audience really gravitated towards my music. So me being me, I was like, well, what's the craziest idea I could do? And I was like, okay, well, let's see how many tour dates I could put in one show, like one show run. And it ended up being 25 dates. And it included WA, which I think is an insane one, especially looking back, because not a lot of artists from the east coast of Australia tour in the west coast and vice versa, because the distance between one side of Australia to the other side is insane. It's it's quicker to get to other countries around. So I think it was great to really tour there. And although I wouldn't necessarily do that big of a tour again, it gives me an idea of going, okay, well, where can I go back to? What have I really made out of that? And it was great. I actually really loved WA. It was my favorite state to play in.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what does life look like on the road? Is it constant sort of performing and then just recovering? Or is there other stuff that you balance in?
It honestly, the recovery part took a bit of a back burner, which I think on reflection was really good for me to see how I handled it. So at the same time, I was trying to balance out touring and working and going to the gym and trying to eat well, making sure that I wasn't eating really bad food on tour. And even my voice, it's a bit croaky now because I had spicy food for dinner, but for even my voice, when I was getting off planes, I was like, oh, this is really drying up my voice. What can I do about it? So it was good to be on tour, but it was also really good to kind of go, okay, well, this is how my body responds to different environments. This is how my body handles being on planes and handles, I guess, traveling to that extent. So it was good, but it kind of just got me in touch with what I can do to kind of like YAGKI proof myself.
Yeah. And so how many shows, you said 25 dates in total. Was this all back to back?
It wasn't all back to back. So I think that as an emerging artist, I wasn't, for so many reasons, wasn't able to kind of like block out a period of time. So I balanced out a tour with work Monday to Friday and then on the road, or work Monday to Thursday, then annual leave, and then going on the road. So I didn't really stop that entire time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's insane. It just kind of drags out that tour longer because now you're, wow, that's incredible. And how does that differ from being back at home versus performing? Is it a lot more spread out? I guess obviously you're not traveling to different places afar.
I think that the main difference, I guess, with the touring and the hometown shows is more room to grow in terms of audience reach. I think that especially in Sydney, it can be very much playing to the same people that will always come to your shows, which is great. But it's also kind of going, well, how do I take that next step? How do I keep going? So, for instance, I'm performing a show at Oxford Art Factory in a couple of months at Gallery Bar, but even then I'm going, well, I've played there before. What can I do differently? And I'm going to make the setting different, do a couple of other cool things. So I think with hometown shows, it's a bit like you've got to kind of constantly reinvent the wheel or jump on supports, while with touring in other states, you're still establishing who you are. So it's kind of a bit more fresh for the people that live there.
Yeah. And how many with you are you touring with? Is it like your entire band plus more? What does that look like?
It's a bit different across everything. So hometown shows, I do full band, and then support shows in my hometown, I'll do drums and vocals just to manage out timing, costs, equipment. For Melbourne, for if it's a show that I gotta take and I don't have enough notice, I'll just bring the drummer, and I'd ideally love to take the full band again, but it just kind of comes down to what's the best use of their time, because although I do have a band, I'm still technically a solo artist, so I've kind of got to do the rounds myself, build up YAGKI as a name, and then be able to give more opportunities for them to come touring with me.
Yeah, of course. I've seen you a few times, obviously performing, and every single time your stage performance is absolutely incredible, and it looks like it's even better on the socials I've seen recently. So, like, how the hell do you have the energy for that, especially when you're doing multiple shows in a week or over a month or so?
I think for me, it's kind of I've gotten good at it this year, especially. I think last year it was kind of testing the waters with, oh, I probably do need to sleep to be able to sing. Oh, I probably do need to be drinking a lot of water. And I think there's this conception in the industry where you have to keep going and you can't stop, because if you stop, someone else is going to take your place. And I kind of went, well, how do I keep nonstop, but also make sure that I have the best way to perform, the best equipment in myself? And I'm pretty self-aware as an artist in terms of what happens with my body. Like even now I've got a bit of a croakier throat because I had spicy food, so I'll try and place my voice a bit up. And I guess that how I got energy from it was honestly a lot more prep before the show even happened. So I try and like go to Pilates 4 days a week. I was going to the gym 4 days a week, and then I got to the point where I was doing like getting on the floor on stage and going all the way to the back of the floor and doing twisting turnings, and I can't do that. I can't, I'm not good at it. And I was like, well, I need to work on something that focuses on my flexibility. And I think that how I can get the energy to do those shows is because I don't just train for shows. I focus on myself all the time because I am the instrument, and the way that I treat my body, the way that I treat my mind, everything will affect those performances. And there's definitely days where like I'll be like, I'm so tired. Like I had a show 2 weeks ago, and I don't know why, and I don't know what came over, but I was so exhausted, and I kind of did what I could, and then I think on autopilot almost, because I'd done so much practice in better states, my body just kind of knew what it was doing and went for it. So I was like, okay. But yeah, kind of that's my, in short, just training all the time rather than waiting for specific shows.
Yeah, of course. No, it's really important. Like you just having that longevity and for health as well, not just for certain time periods where a lot of people, I think, treat health and sort of gym as a project. Like, oh, it's summertime. All right, let's get shredded to the gym, show my abs.
Yeah.
And then just binge in the winter for a rainy day. But I mean, programs can change all the time, and ultimately it should be at least sort of, yeah, exercising for health and for you, what makes you feel good.
100%.
Has that always been sort of part of you since you started, was taking care of your health?
I think that it's kind of like it's definitely ebbed and flowed. I think that I've always been very active and I've always been very focused on the gym, but I think almost when I first got started, I was doing it not for the wrong reasons, but I was looking for more the superficial reasons to be able to look good and to look well, which I guess return, which I'm still working through now, I was focusing on the looking good. So then I kind of was like, well, I'm working out so much. I wasn't eating as much as I needed to for the amount that I was working out, and all those things kind of fell. And then when I got really into performing and the show demanded more from me because I naturally and emotionally was trying to give it more, then I kind of was like, okay, well, how do I cross those parts over? Am I focusing on like heavyweight training? Am I focusing on more like stability training? And I think it wasn't until, like I mentioned, when I did my little twisty turny that I was like, well, I need flexibility, I need core strength, I need to be able to hold my voice. So it's always been a part of my journey as a person, and as an artist, but I think that definitely the goalposts have shifted in a good way.
Yeah. No, that's a really incredible to hear. Like how you were doing it first for the aesthetic reasons, and
Mm.
that's, there's nothing wrong with that per se. But then,
Yeah.
how far are you willing to sort of to push that boundary? And I can imagine, like, when you're performing, you'll be burning so many calories up there,
I
and it's
hope
not just
so.
the
I'm going for it.
yeah, absolutely, and it's not just the energy as well, but also be very hot up there as well. You're just gonna be sweating it out.
Yeah, especially with lights on you like that. I did a show maybe a few months ago now. I always say it, but time is an illusion. I can't keep up. But it was outside a core stadium in Sydney, and I did 4 back-to-back shows, and it was for a Matildas game. So I was like, well, 4 sets, people coming past, that's 4 headline shows. So my goal was to give 4 headline shows worth of energy, pretty much 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off, 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off. So it's like 4 high, I don't know the word, you'd know the word, interval training, like just like hit
Yep,
classes 4 times, 15-minute
yep,
breaks, that's it.
yeah. Oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what other kind of demands do you sort of face physically? Doesn't have to necessarily be from performing, but just
Mhm.
maybe on a day-to-day basis.
I think that like water intake is a big one. I think that I was treating especially water as like a, oh, before I sing, it's fine. When I was like, no, I need to be constantly be hydrated. I need to make sure that my voice and my body can handle those like different, just anything that kind of comes at me. So in terms of how I take care of myself there, water's a big one. The stuff that I'm currently working on, I'm still trying to like increase the amount that I eat. I think that's a very big one where I will be doing so much as an artist. I'll go pew 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 pew, light speed ahead, and then I'll realize that I've ate like half a meal, and I'm like, no, I need the full thing. So that's something that I'm trying to work on. And I guess other things that I do, sleep's a big one. Sleep's probably the hardest one, but I have been trying to allocate certain days that I just make sure that I'm in bed at a certain time. So like Monday to Thursday, I'm like, well, this is my strict routine. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever I do. But at least I
Yeah.
have 4 days of the week where I am making sure that I'm getting enough for my body where I can. So that's sort of what I try and do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What does a typical day look like for you, Yagi?
Uh, weekdays very much. Wake up at 5:30, Pilates by 6. Get to work an hour early. Do socials content for an hour. Work my 9 to 5. Go to teaching afterwards. So I'm a music teacher. I teach kids privately in their homes, piano and singing, and then I come back home and then I do vocal practice, I do songwriting. I've got my list here. I do vocal practice, I do songwriting. Depending what day it is, I leave like other content days during the like night as well. And when I can, I try and get on, reading and mindfulness, but that's the thing that takes the back burner. And then weekends are interesting. They change, but they're still always so busy. So last weekend, for example, I had work, then I had a photo shoot, then I had a studio session, then I had something else in between, but then I went back to the studio session. So yeah.
Mm.
That's a typical
Yeah.
Yagi. I know you asked for a day, but you kind of got a week.
No, of course. And you also work in retail as well,
Yeah.
for your third job. So, wow. So not only you're performing, songwriting and creating engaging content, but you also have a full-time job and also two other jobs alongside that. So I'm very impressed on how you manage your time.
Thank
I was
you.
wondering, I know you said you sleep is a bit of a strict routine during Monday to Thursday. Do you have sort of other rules or guidelines you set for yourself to manage your time and also preventing burnout?
I think that burnout's an interesting one because I still am very much on the and this is and it's not naivety because I self-reflect. I do that stuff. I don't think I've ever kind of hit the floor with a burnout because I'm very mindful of constantly trying to reinvent the wheel when needed. So I will look at my calendar and go, okay, what's working, what's not working.
Mm.
And what I've been trying to do, I guess in this it would be a way for me to prevent burnout. Every Sunday night, I sit down and I look at the week ahead. I kind of look at what's going to clash ahead. I look at what's going to do well, what I need to kind of shift, and I prep myself early. So then during the week, I'm not stressing about what's coming tomorrow. I'm able just to focus on today and trust that Sunday Yagi figured out already what the week would look like, and I can just live it. I where I can, I try and be pretty strict with timings with everything. I think that it's very easy as an artist to get caught up in, oh, I'm gonna just do socials content for however long I can, and then, oh, 4 hours has passed and I didn't do anything else. So I try and be quite strict in how I divide everything. Um, and at the same time, I guess also making time to also see friends and family. And I think it's hard, and I'm in a very lucky spot because a lot of my friends and family, they know how important my career is and they're very supportive of that. But it's kind of a bit hard, I guess, in your, you know, you get this. It's kind of hard in your early 20s to be so focused on your career and give everything to it, and then you see other friends being like, but just come out and do this, don't worry about it, don't do this. And it's also, sorry, I think I've segued, but it's almost isolating sometimes because you kind of feel like, well, I'm doing something for me, I'm really focusing on this, and there'll be friends that support it. And even now I've got a friend in particular that is great, just doesn't understand how important it is for me, and still remembers, I guess, a teenage Yagi who used to be able to go out and do all these things, and then there's the version of me now that's constantly trying to be better and grow, and it's almost like
Yeah.
it frightens other people. But yeah, you're in the same boat, I guess, with like really going hard on what you're doing and giving it everything. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, of course, more isolation by moving across countries, but not to get away from anyone, just to put that
Yeah.
out there. But
No, someone's watching this like,
yeah, purely just for life experience. That's
yeah, of course.
my statement there on that. um, as someone like not in the music industry, I
Mm,
have no idea how much it costs for touring and performing and producing songs.
yeah.
For the other non-music industry people in the audience, like what kind of financial costs does that sort of take to fund all this?
So for a song, for let's say you write it, you wrote the song, so you don't need to pay for someone else to write it. Ideally, production's about 2K, and then
Oh,
you've got mixing, which can go to 1K, and then you've got mastering, which isn't too bad, can be like $100, $200, and then you've got promo photos, which are $400, and then you've got music video, which can be up to 2K. Usually 2K. 2K is a good price. And then let's say you want to do PR. That's about 3K. You want to do some, you want to put some marketing money into a socials post for your release day. $100. You want to put some money into Spotify because Spotify has this thing now that it'll like market you out. 250 minimum. And then you just do it again. And then touring's a bit even crazier because standard musician fees are about like in terms of session musos, they'll be between 150 to 250 for rehearsals, and then you've got a call out fee of 150, and then if you're paying for their flights, that's flight money, and there's an extraordinarily high amount of costs. And I I think that's honestly why I work so much. I work so much so I can be able to pay for it all. And I think that there's definitely opportunities that I need to take up more in terms of like grants and things like that. But it's also hard when you're kind of like, well, where's the time to stop and just fill out a form and do all of that? But that's the costs. I saw your face when I was like, first thing,
Oh, yeah.
2K, and you're like, oh,
Just for the song. That's why it's
literally.
so, yeah, I can now have much more understanding on how much it costs for, say, an album, let alone just a single. Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. And yeah, completely understand, why three jobs is necessary, especially when you're living in Sydney, rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me more about like how you sort of started your music journey, and to what extent has your childhood or any other sort of past influences have, I guess, affected your work or influenced that?
Definitely. I think that for me, my connection with music started honestly because of like some pretty horrible things. Like I grew up in a pretty like rough childhood. So the thing that I found a lot of joy in was music, and I used to get really bad sleep paralysis and just all of these sleep things really young. So what I used to do, I used to like play a CD, and I used to imagine different situations in my head as almost like a self-soothing method um, for little YAGKI. And then from doing that and from using music to kind of soothe me, I grew really close to music emotionally. And when I like while I was growing up, you didn't really like there wasn't opportunities to do that. It was, every day it was kind of like, will we have food on the table for dinner? Will we have this? And these are questions that I was seeing at like, 5 and 6 and 7 years old. So there wasn't any space for music, and the idea of having a career like that wasn't I was never told it was selfish, but you kind of get the hint when there's, other struggles going on right now, and you're just there going, I want to be a singer. Um, so yeah, it started off with that, and then as I got a little bit older, I was writing music. So I started writing music around probably 7, 8 as a way to express myself in a form of communication, I think. And I was like, I write pretty heavy music, and then I actually found like an old lyric sheet from 8-year-old Sarah, and it is so sad. I was like, okay, this is a trend. This has been a consistent thing. And then yeah, we couldn't really afford singing lessons, couldn't afford anything. Was really, really bad YouTube videos, still writing, still trying. I didn't give up on that. And then as soon as I turned 14, I got a job as soon as I could. And at my vocal college that I still am at now, I used to pay $10 a week to pay off singing fees. And underneath it, there was like a music store, and I was paying $10 a week there for a keyboard, and eventually just was able to stick to that. So that's how my musical journey started, from just a self-soothing method to a let's do it.
Yeah. Well, no, thanks for sharing.
That's
Um,
okay.
this is actually a good segue to talk about your new song, Just a Ghost. And this single is actually like a big favorite of mine at the moment, and probably maybe more so than Can't Decide. It's, yeah, really hitting up there. I'd love for you to sort of dive deeper onto the meaning and sort of the inspiration of that song.
From a like a widespread meaning, it's trying to run away from your past and this almost desperate plea to try and be better. When I wrote the song, I wrote it with the imagery of honestly running down like a really long dark street, and something's chasing you, and you're not necessarily running away from it out of fear, probably fear, but you're running away from it to desperately try and outrun it. And I think that the idea that everyone has something that they run from their past, and something that they try and escape from, is so true. And on a personal level, for me, it was leaving home at 16 and trying to escape a life where it was housing commission and Centrelink and not having much. And I realized very much into like 19, 20 years old that by us trying to run from it, I'd completely cut it off. I had friends that had no idea that that happened to me and had no idea about any of my past. And it would be random conversations where people would kind of go, "Oh, you've never spoken about your family." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize it's a normal thing to talk about." So then when I realized I was trying to outrun it, Just a Ghost for me is about facing it, and also how difficult it is to leave those situations, and how difficult it is to try and break out of a cycle of poverty and homelessness, and how vicious that can be at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very brave of you to be so vulnerable in creating a song like that and sharing that message. And I think that's, from what I can see from on your socials, that's really sort of taken off, is being more vulnerable. And of course, it kind of sucks. You don't really want to do that, but you know that's it's almost the, sort of the next progression of
100%.
Yagi and yourself. And that's something that I'm trying to do more on my socials. It's
Mm.
where I'm kind of sharing more about what I plan to do and everything like that. But then it's now it's like I don't really want to do that, because if I don't make it, then at least I can sort of, no one will know it's a secret. But now if it's out there and everything
I
like that,
think
it's like,
it's
okay, well now
yeah.
I have to be a bit more accountable.
100%. I think people love the journey. I think that especially in pop music there's this idea of like, oh, it's polished. I'm like, no, I want you to see me in all ways, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be me. And I've been really lucky because I think more and more people are connecting to that, because I don't think that, at least for me, there's anyone else in pop at an emerging level that's trying to talk about these things. I think that a lot of the topics that I write about, almost I hear more in like drill or hip hop or rap, the growing up on the streets vibe. and But then I don't hear it in pop. And I'm like, well, I wanted to listen to pop. I wanted to listen to that music. So I think, yeah, it's been really great to have um the emotional and the vulnerable side, but I also try and balance it out as well, because I have like a little routine in my head in terms of what content I try and put out there. So Thursdays I try and stick to like story times and just sharing pieces. Um, but I think I'm also practicing trying to be mindful of how I say it as well. I want to make sure that I'm not like re-triggering someone, or saying something in not necessarily the wrong way, but more like an uneducated way. So I've been really active in trying to get across the best way that I can share things too.
Yeah, of course. And for someone like me, like I didn't really get educated on what social housing is and what it's like during school. I was wondering if
Mm.
you can sort of talk about that a little more in terms of
Yeah,
what that was like.
it's for what I can remember, because again, all of the memories they're very scattered. Like, it's when I lived in Bankstown, it kind of is like this. It's like what you see from the outside. Like, it's a bunch of units all blocked in together. Um, there's no upkeep. They're barely looked after from, again, when I was living there. And I think that it's really sad because there's a lot of beautiful people that live in there, but no one's trying to help them get better. It's almost shove people in a corner and let them live like that. So it's, people with drug addictions, people in domestic violence relationships, families that don't have enough money to get through things, people that have been there because their parents have been there. Like, there's so many people that live there, and such a severe lack of pathway. The housing commission, social housing, there's no pathway. It's you're there and you feel trapped, and you don't know what else is there, because it almost becomes your entire world. It becomes your entire world to, get really sucked into what's happening with the neighbors who are screaming at 2 a.m., or sucked into the fire that started on the other floor. And especially in Bankstown, it was really interesting, because my brother and I, we had a really good friend that we loved from that apartment block, and we used to we used to play a game called like 44 Home. I think that's what it was called, and like used to
24
play.
homes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, And it was beautiful. But then on the other hand, as we were, really close with this friend, downstairs there was a really severe domestic violence case happening. So that's kind of what it's like. It's like you see glimmers of hope that are overshadowed by people being stuck in those houses and those units, and it's not educating people in there to find different pathways. It's, oh, just you're in there now, which is really, which is why I think it's really vicious, that cycle, because you get stuck in it. You get really stuck in it. I was just very lucky that I had music, and that kind of helped me break out of it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you for being so brave
Okay.
and sharing that. I guess with your music, you're obviously working a lot, but if money wasn't an object, would transitioning music to full time, is that something you think might be sort of the future?
100%. Right now I'm trying to look at different ways to kind of steer clear from artist releases new song. I think for me, without money being like a factor at all, it would be full time. It would be touring. It would be doing content. It would be writing and releasing. So I'm kind of like, that's the biggest goal, to be able to do it full time. And I work as a music publicist during the day, but at the end of the day, I'm an artist. That's what I'm here for. I'm very grateful and lucky that I'm a publicist, but I am an artist. So I think definitely I am trying to do that, and I'm looking at different ways to kind of make that happen. So whether it's in sync or publishing or being, specific with my touring so I can make the most out of it. I'm trying to get a booking agent to get bigger support. So trying to think outside the box, and I guess at the end of the day, just focus on my audience and focus on connecting in that way. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. When you're like at venues and performing, what's like, do you always have to sort of get the max ticket sales to like profit off that?
Well, it's not even a profit. I've never profited off a show. I've broke
Oh,
even,
wow.
which is enough. Because for shows, for instance, you're paying the band, you're paying the supports, you're paying the sound engineer, you're paying for the makeup. I've only broke even at shows, and that's when I've sold them out or been close to selling them out.
Wow. I had no idea. That's
So
insane.
honestly, the value of people coming to shows is massive. The value of people buying tickets early is massive, because buying them early saves the stress of getting to a show's date closer and freaking out because you're like, I don't know if this is going to get there. And that's really rare. People don't pre-sale unless it's close friends, family, or really like fanatic fans. But yeah, I haven't made a profit off a show, but I'm also grateful that I've broke even because I haven't lost, which is really lucky.
Yeah. A great mindset to have. I guess
Yeah.
that's why a lot of artists will sell merch as well at their shows just to really help out.
You can make money off merch. So well, it depends. So I did my last show, I finally had like shirts. Great, awesome. I got stickers. Great, awesome. But then also it's like I used the money that I made from merch to pay for the door person, and then I used it to pay for like posters. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's, as long as music's paying for music, that is my goal. That is my biggest goal.
Mm,
Music pays for music until music pays for rent, and music pays for food and all the other stuff.
yeah. Wow. Is there like is there a dream venue you would love to play at one day?
In terms of like crazy, like go for it, dream venue.
Yeah.
I'm a big Kid Leroy fan, and I saw him play Madison Square with Tate McRae, and I was like, that'd be nice. I'm gonna say that one, and it's definitely
Okay.
biased because I love Kid Leroy.
Yeah. That's cool. Something else that you just mentioned or announced on Instagram is doing a global tour in one day.
I
Like,
knew
what's
you were
that
gonna bring
about?
that up.
I feel like everyone has to hear this.
I decided to plan, and I will do it, a 1 day global tour, because I leave Sydney on the 25th of September at 11 a.m. I have a changeover in Auckland, New Zealand on that same day. And then I fly to LA, technically land there at 1:30 p.m. the 25th of September. So I was like, well, why don't I do a show here? Auckland, I've only got a 4 hour like changeovers, and I haven't been overseas for 6 years, so I'm a bit I don't really know, but I think I'm gonna play in the airport. They can't kick me out. What are they gonna do? And then next minute.
Yeah.
And then for LA, I've been in touch with like a bunch of different like open mics, emerging showcases. So just trying to put some pressure on there for that. So LA's close. Sydney, I think's done. I've got a meeting tomorrow actually at the venue that I think I'm using. So Sydney will hopefully be locked in by the end of the day tomorrow. New Zealand, I reckon, is going to be an airport one, and then LA is my biggest one.
Yeah.
One day
Wow.
global tour, all in a day, all the 25th of September.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could see this is definitely not going to be maybe profitable with the flights costs in there, but it
But
doesn't
it'll
matter.
be
You're
cool.
gonna have fun. Yeah.
I'll have fun. I'll live stream it. It'll be great.
Yeah. That's such a cool like concept. Yeah. I wish you the best of luck, getting those dates booked in and not getting kicked out of the airport.
You'll see it on my socials. I'll be keeping everyone up to date. If I'm in
Yeah.
handcuffs walking away from like New Zealand, that's a story.
Yeah.
It won't happen. I'm polite. I'll just play.
Yeah. Is there anything else coming up? Sort of the next stages?
Yeah, so I've got the one day global tour, but it's actually because I'm in LA, but LA's another changeover stop because I'm going to Cabo the next day for a writing camp. Cabo,
Mm.
Mexico, which is kind of crazy. So I'm
Yeah.
yeah, right? Ooh. I'm going to Cabo for a week. I'm playing with an artist called Mercy Mercy the week before that. I've got my own big headline show at Oxford Art Factory here in Sydney in October. I've got another song coming out with that. And then pretty much everything with YAGKI next year. All the songs are pretty big in terms of subject lines. The next song strips it just strips everything about me and the project really vulnerably. And the idea of releasing this song that's coming up is to give kind of like a really like this is your vulnerable moment until we get into storytelling this situation, storytelling that. So it's kind of like stripping everything away to make a blank paper, and
Mm.
then next year's all color. I don't know if
Yeah.
that helped the visualization of that, but
No, I got that. That was
yeah,
pretty good.
sick. And the song I've got, yeah, in terms of next year, the first song of the year in January, it's like the song meaning is wild. So I know what I'm doing this year, but I'm so excited for that. But it's almost like I've got to let everything else happen first.
That's it. Yeah, enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not get too ahead of myself.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I'm really excited to see where sort of the next 12 months take you.
Thank you.
For some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So this will just take a minute or two, and then we'll sort of close out the show after. So starting off, your best and worst exercises.
Oh, my worst exercises are probably anything like RDLs, anything that I'm kind of like pulling up because I think that I kind of sway to one side and that makes me feel this is a rapid fire question. I just gotta say short thing.
That's
Um
okay.
that and I like planks. Planks are my favorite. I can do a mean plank.
Okay. And your worst one?
RDLs.
Oh, sorry. I thought audios was your favorite. Okay. Got to share. Blank's favorite, audios worst. Okay. Training in a gym or outdoors?
In a gym, outdoors, bugs, scary. Nope.
Australia. Yeah, fair enough. Tea or coffee?
Tea. I don't drink coffee, surprisingly.
Podcast or books?
Ooh. Oh, to consume books.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Sunrise or sunset?
Ooh. Sunrise.
Oh, okay. I was surprised. And favorite music artist, although I think I've already got an idea who that might be.
You know, so Kid Leroy and Eden, both of them.
Okay. All
Equal
right, cool.
playing field.
Yeah. Final question. If you could go back to 16-year-old YAGKI as she begins to sort of start to forge her own path, what's one piece of advice would you give to her?
Oh, this is a good question. I like this question. It would be to, I guess, trust your intuition. I think in the industry, it's 16-year-old Sarah and above, between me now and then, has met pretty horrible people in the industry, and I think I always kind of I everything I feel, but I think 16-year-old Sarah definitely just needs to trust her intuition a lot more and trust her gut feeling.
Awesome. Yeah. And how can people find you?
All on social, Spotify, Yaggi, YAGKI, the K is silent, and then on socials it is I am Yaggi, like I am Batman, but Yaggi version.
Love it. Well, thanks so much, Yagi, for being on the show. It's been an absolute sort of pleasure to be here. And for those who haven't checked out Just a Ghost yet, please do so on, I presume, all music streaming platforms.
Everything.
Yep. Everything. Spotify, YouTube, Apple, you got it. And also check out her upcoming shows in September and October as well. Thanks so much for being on the podcast again. And thank you to the audience for listening or watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much. And we're going to see you in the next episode, whenever that may be.
Thank you.